Join the movement. Listen to Master Grower Michael Andre Hart give a powerful master class on growing organic outdoor medicine, spirituality, and learning from nature. Watch the full, exclusive, ad-free reasoning now, only on www.inevernewtv.com premium.
All right. You spoke about outdoor earlier, right? I want to delve deeper into that. So there's an ongoing debate about whether indoor or outdoor cultivation is better, right? Can you clarify this and explain how herbs adapt to their environment?
All right. The whole controversy between outdoor and indoor is just a waste of time. Outdoor and indoor is just two different growing principles and two different growing practices. So you will never get the same result where you get from doing indoor with outdoor. And because it's two different growing principles, this is how it worked for me from my personal experience. I've never worked in an indoor facility for grow weed because I don't like it, you know? And not because I don't like it, I'm not bashing it. Indoor is here for stay. You always going to be a part of the industry and it always go here for stay. Because there's people who support it and that's that's the flower or that's the grow that a lot of people have appetite for. And I go and break it down to the lowest common multiple from my perspective, you know. Other persons might see me in a different way, but this is how it works. When scientists start to study this plant, they didn't study it in the wild, you know. Even if them do some study in the wild. Remember when you go in the wild and you find a herb, you want to know more about the herb. So what you do, you carry the herb and you carry it inside. Because you want to capture every second, every minute, every hour, and every day, the different changes. And because of all of that, and we have that closer insight now, there was new discovery. And one of the new discovery is that them realize that this plant can be manipulated because it have the ability to adapt to any conditions. Like a living being, like a human being, for example. I can born in Alaska, you know, but that don't stop me from living in Asia. I just know so when I go to Asia, I wear less clothes. And when I go back to Alaska, I wear more clothes. So that's how the weed work. Saying so, the same endocannabinoid system that is made up of the human body, when them study the plant, no me say so. Scientists and all who research and study say so and provide it to us in written document. Is the same makeup within the human body. What that I tell you? There's a direct connection between living being and this plant. So the plant have the ability to adapt. So the whole controversy between indoor and outdoor is just nonsense. For me, a nonsense. Because watch this, if it's two growing principle, different growing principle, you're not gonna get the same result. You know? Inside you manipulate the plant. Outside you can't. However, the two growing practice, anyone that master that craft have to be very precise, accurate, and they have to be very expert in doing that art. It's an art. So you got to be an expert in doing that art, whether from an inside or whether from an outside. I just choose outside because inside is manipulation, meaning you keep the plant in a building and you commercialize everything. A fan for the wind circulation, lights to imitate the sun, everything you do. But it gives you power over the plant to control the plant. So you can push the plant wherever you want to push it. That's the manipulation, you know. And that's where it becomes a bit dangerous because the inside you're polluting the environment. You're creating mess because you're helping to destroy the ozone layer. That is one. Two, you're giving consumer only what you desire to grow. Remember, there's 200 properties. However, where the marketing of cannabis is concerned, they emphasize or they place marketing around THC. So for a lot of consumer, the higher the THC is the better the plant, is the better the flower. For me, it's not so. It's not true. You know? So the inside give everyone that go inside the ability or the capability to push his THC to 40%, 50%, or to whoever they want to do it.
How do they do that?
This is how it works, you know. There's natural biology that can be applied to cannabis in terms of growing perspective. And if those biologies are not used in the right context or in the right way, what you think will happen? You know? So there's biology that only focus on pushing THC, what you feed through irrigation. So they use biology that is only focusing on how to boost THC. So what those biology is doing is don't press all the rest of potency to increases. They only want to extrapolate THC because THC is what's selling. That's the dominant. That's what make the market. That's what make you dominant in the market space.
Oh, so based on what you feed the soil, that would feed the component in the herb.
Yeah, because you gotta feed. You gotta feed. So that those biologies, it can pushes whatever you wants to push. What you want to extrapolate from the plant, that's what you want to emphasize on. That's what you want to push. And this is how it works for me now.
So if it's grown outside though, could you have that extreme difference in the THC CBD? Can you also replicate that, or you only could do that inside?
It's not 100% possible to do it from an outdoor
There's too much
perspective.
variables affecting the growing process.
When you're going outside, you becomes one with nature.
Yeah, you gotta work with
So I can't manipulate the plant. I can only be a guider, a carer, and a protector. Meaning the plant gets the ability to do whatsoever it wants to do. So guess what now? When it's outside, I gotta learn, I gotta navigate, I gotta be connected with the plant. I know, oh, this plant need to be pruned for ventilation, for airflow. And these limbs need to be moved because these limbs is not going to produce the quality I want. So you give all the limbs that have the ability to produce the quality you require. So you remove anything that doesn't have that ability. So that's the cure. You can't, so you get balance.
Sound like life.
Yeah, you create in the growing, you create balance. And I like that balance because I don't see myself growing THC. I see myself growing a plant, which that plant is medicinal. So when I'm out there growing, I'm growing medicine. You know? So the THC might be 21% versus the indoor 35, 40. But guess what? You get a more balance high. Because the 40%, you smoke a 40%. I'm going to work it out for you, in every way, from a business perspective and from a health perspective. So the 40% THC, when you smoke a 40% THC, what's the reaction behind that? It gets you so cloudy. You go to sit in a couch and you drop asleep. For the little young teenage youth, them sit right there and them eat out of them plate and them leave it same place. It give them this cloudiness where for the whole day, it's like them they dead. But them like it because it high. How that work? Now this is my question to a lot of people, If you have a company and you have 100 workers and you allow them to smoke cannabis, you want your 100 worker come in with a bang up high like that, how will they execute quality work ethics? Versus an outdoor which is 19%, 20% or 21%. And that you would smoke a giant and it does keep him so active. He does want to execute. Because it's a balance high. It's 200 property. So the THC is not overriding. And moreover, THC without CBD is useless because CBD hold THC in line. If you smoke a whole heap of THC and get high, the fastest way if you really get back that balance is if you just get some hemp flower and smoke some CBD and it just pulls you back in line. That goes for sure. All the properties work together. And all the properties need to work together in order to give the body the benefit it needs from a sacramental perspective, and also a medicinal perspective as well, as a person who have experience in that field. So there's different levels because you really do from a seed to a seal. So, you got to choose your genetics well because some genetics were created only to grow inside, not outside. So that's something where you got to have up your sleeve because the whole outdoor growing perspective, if you get it wrong from the beginning, that wrong follow you all the way to the end. So you'll never get the quality that you want at the end. So you got to choose your genetics well. And you choose genetics that can adapt to an outdoor condition. It can withstand certain variables and there's a lot of things out there that it can withstand. It adapts to an outdoor, the fluctuating weather pattern and all of that. So that's one of the key point in terms of going outdoor. You got to understand your genetics, and you got to choose genetics from cultivar who is very honest. Cultivar who not going to sell the genetics and say, oh yeah, it's gonna do good outside, and when it don't, yeah. So you got to get it from reliable sources, persons who is well experienced in terms of doing this from a long time and understand the different cycles and the pattern and all of that. Apart from that, when you get the genetics, there's a lot of navigation that has to be done. You got to choose your geographical location very well. And this is how your geographical location works within New York, because New York is a different weather pattern. You can choose a location and your plant can be seen on the prosperous in vegetation life. Meaning it's bulky, it's green, it's nice, and it's luscious. But the moment the cycle change and you're going closer to the cold now, that location where you choose might be a basin with a whole heap of mountains around it. So what happens when you have a downpour of rain, all of those water drain underneath and mostly stay a while at that basement before it drains somewhere else. And when all of that water sit underneath there, it create too much moisture when you start to flower. When you start going to flowering, it doesn't want a lot of rain. And that's one of the advantage where a person who grow inside might claim same have. But the reason might have it over outdoor person is because the outdoor person never choose him location well. So these are technicalities where you have to have up your belt, you have to solve all these problems and choose a location properly. So you choose a location, if the rain fall for 3 weeks straight and you're outside, you're not fretting, you're not worrying. Because as soon as that rain stop, that water will drains away from the soil. So it make the soil becomes loosey once more. The soil can breathe. It doesn't stagnate.
Is that the reason they plant up on the hills in Jamaica then?
That's why we always go on the mountain
I
tops.
got you.
That's why you always, there's time where you use the basins, Right? There's time where you go low in the valleys. Because in Jamaica, you plant the 12 months of the year. But as I say, it's a discipline that you obtain through these practices, and it's also technical because you got to navigate. So in Jamaica, anywhere up away, anywhere within October, November, December, and January, you go in the valleys. You come off of the mountaintop because the mountaintop becomes real dry because you're not getting a lot of rainfall at that time. And the wind will blow in Jamaica at that time, they dry the soil very quickly. So you won't have that whole heap of moisture. Not that it won't grow up there, but you won't get the height you want. It's very short. So you go down in the valleys. So in those glades where you won't go in a spring, you go down in them glades because in them glades they have a way where it facilitates the dew water in the night. And those dew water give your plant the strength and energy it needs for where growing ability is concerned. So the same plant would have grow this short on the mountain top. The same plant grow as tall as this in the valley, down in the glade. Because the glade creates so much moisture from the hot air in the day. And that moisture, when it releases in the night, it creates a whole heap of dew. The mountain top dry, but when you go deep in the glade, you're wet.